Welcome to another episode of Give It a Nudge. Today we have Ali from Headbox back on the show, but this time in real life. So welcome, Ali.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be here.
So you were on the show 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2021.
2021. And we were right in the heart of lockdown. So you were at home, I was at home. Or was I? No, I wasn't at home. I remember I went into the studio, but I wasn't allowed to see anyone. So all the studio staff were talking to me through an earpiece. They were in a different room. I remember it was crazy. And I sat on my own for 6-7 hours and filmed all these episodes.
And we didn't know what was ahead of us because I think we did it before the second
it was early.
Lockdown, yeah.
It was all, and for you, with your business, locations is kind of your business, you definitely didn't know.
No.
So why don't you do a quick intro just in case anyone hasn't seen the previous episode of what you do.
Yeah, awesome.
And then we'll sort of talk about how you got through that and what's happened since then, because it's been a big 3 years.
Yeah, it has been, and we've done a lot, which is really cool. So Headbox is an events agency, really multifaceted, which is quite cool. On one side, we partner with any type of venue across Australia and globally, and we have our own tech products that we sell to them to support with lead acquisition, digital exposure, etc. On the other side is where we partner with companies to be that extension of events team. And there too, we've built really cool tech that supports companies to get that visibility, spend under management. I honestly never thought I'd find data sexy, but it's really cool when you can get under the skin of that. And then additional to that, we also then have what's more so the traditional event management component, which is my background.
So talk to me, because you work for Headbox in the UK, remember?
Sorry, I'm just correcting on that. Not worked for, I was actually their first business client.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah.
Oh, you were a client. I do remember, yes.
The other side.
And then you came here and essentially started running it here for them. Yeah, I do remember now. So talk to me about, I want to go back on that little bit you just touched on, the tech that you've got for when you're partnering with the clients. Explain that to me.
Work?
I want to know how it works.
The best analogy that I'll always use is a company will typically, not always, will typically partner with an external travel agent for everybody in the company to book their flights. So they get best value for money, they get compliance, etc. But they also get visibility of that spend. Our model is exactly the same, whereby we will partner with a company and everybody in that company is then instructed to book their events through Headbox so that they can then get spend under management, but they're also relying on expertise. Because one of the things that we see time and time again is an EA will come to us with a pretty large budget for an event, not know what he or she is doing, and then look a bit panic, and then we sort of pick it up and go from there for them.
Yeah, okay. So you're talking, these are big corporate clients, right? Yeah.
And that's the irony. We're a small company, but our model is to work with big corporates. And when we, and the tech component of it is when we partner with these companies and they start seeing the events come through, their management dashboard then gives them complete visibility of going, wow, our L&D team's doing this, comms are doing this, etc. So it's really cool.
Can everybody see all that? So everyone can see other events that others have done?
We actually restrict it, because if we were to give that data to a large portion of people within a company, it would get into the wrong hands. And when you're talking to the point you just made, big companies, big spend. If they're suddenly given that visibility, it would get a bit
cool. I like that.
unmanageable.
All right, well, let's go back to when we literally finished up. No events. No one was leaving home.
No.
You looked a little panicked, if I remember rightly so. What happened? Because it probably went on for, I don't know how much longer. It was a fair few months, and then we had a second one, right? So, how did you get through that? What happened?
So it was kind of, I don't know whether it was a good or a bad thing, but we were 5 months into launching the business. So I'm a new business owner. I am learning literally day by day.
In a new country.
In a new country, back in my home country, but in a new country with the business. We came into this, when we met, we were sort of thinking, God, first 5 months of business was incredible. I honestly remember sitting there going, if this is business, I'm here for it. Happy days. How naive I was. The second lockdown came, and fortunately when I launched the business, I put a board in place. I didn't have to, but I thought if I'm going to go on this steep learning curve, I need somebody and a board that I can go to. Met with them pretty swiftly. We decided that we didn't have to lay off anyone. We're only a small team of 6, but that's still headcount when you're about to go into lockdown. And we actually refocused the next 7 months on markets that weren't as affected. So Perth wasn't in a lockdown. That launch from a venue collection perspective was meant to be sort of 18 months' time. So we brought that forward. We put a lot of energy into doing that, which meant we could keep headcount, Morale was still challenging. You know, you're still in that work from home and day in, day out, you're like, it's going to be okay. So that was tough. I'm not going to sort of put rose.
I mean, if you're in events business in a lockdown, it doesn't matter Perth could have gone into a lockdown any time,
Exactly.
right? So of course morale would have been tough.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't have the answers. I didn't know when we were going to come out of lockdown. So that was sort of the 7 months. And I'm really proud of what we did actually achieve in that. Learnings, we burnt a lot of cash, but we set ourselves up for the following January. We were hit with Omicron. So that was sort of the next blow to take. But throughout this, and I think this is what speaks to where our tech is now, we kept developing our tech. We kept quite aggressive with that. So rather than just sort of sitting back going, we'll wait for this to pass.
Yeah, okay. And then did you get there was a bounce, right? So I remember it well. Everybody wanted to go out. I remember just wanting to go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
I just, now I'm probably not so keen to go to restaurants anymore. I'm a bit tired of it. But yeah, at that time, everybody went out. And I'm assuming that there was a bounce in actual corporate events as well.
Yeah, and a bounce in terms of short lead. That was the most frightening thing, was we sort of had Omicron and it's crickets. Nobody's wanting to discuss an event. And it was really around March time that people were like, okay, we want to do things. We want to get back out. We want to be planning events. We need to get our colleagues back together. No one wants to come into the office. So very quickly we were like, okay, we've got to pull this together and it's short lead. But that's what we're here for. And that's the kind of agency we are. We love that high pressure, move fast.
When you say short, how short?
Big events, like big events that you would normally work on a 9 to 12 month lead time, we were doing in 2 to 3 months.
Wow. Yeah, that's super fast.
And then we met with challenges because venues weren't resourced back up to what it should be. So what time frame that we'd normally get a response from venue is doubled, if not tripled.
Yes.
So there was still, it wasn't that just because the events were back, that operationally and how we worked in the industry was back. It was far from it.
And was there still a lot of regulation around events then?
It less so, but it was less so regulation, but more so companies wanting to put on safe events.
Yeah.
And fortunately, that's when they were actually looking at agencies going, give us best practice, give us best advice. And the types of events we were designing meant that we wanted to make really safe and inclusive events.
Yeah.
So that if you personally were still concerned about being in large crowds, how do we make sure we've got an outdoor component? Or how do we make sure that actually the spacing is that little bit more generous so that we're not putting you back into what was considered 2019 days?
Yeah, and everyone was just still terrified, I think.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I went to an event here. Microsoft had an AI event, and we were promoting it. And I had a number of people come to me saying, what's your policy around COVID? What's your COVID policy for the event? And I was like, where am I going?
Yeah.
It's not a thing anymore, is it? You don't even have to stay home when you've got it now. And a lot of people didn't come because of that. There wasn't a policy. Not that we could have really done anything. There wasn't a space. But I found that really, I was surprised that people are still worried about that. Do you still get that?
No. So we're not doing policies for events or anything like that. It's more around how we're actually looking from an extensive risk management plan. It is one of the components in it.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas in COVID, it was its own plan.
Yeah.
So that's sort of significantly changed. I think the really nice thing, and this is probably inherent in me, is I love events.
Yep.
And throughout COVID, people were saying, oh, we're never going to go back to what it used to be ever.
No, they did. Everyone said that.
And humans are creatures of habit.
We've gone right back.
We've gone right back.
It's exactly like, I didn't think I was ever going to fly again.
Yeah.
Which I was sad because I like flying.
Yeah.
Although yesterday I flew twice and I didn't want to. But yeah, it's funny. We really, no one ever thought we would go back. And we are exactly where we were. Or has it? Are we? You tell me. Have things changed? Is it literally back to where we were?
Budgets-wise, no.
Yeah.
So I think that's a potential knock-on effect of where the current economic climate is.
Yes.
We're really seeing that from layoffs, which I'm sure you could speak to in your world. But from layoffs perspective, that's then trickling directly into events because companies can't be seen to be putting on these big events if they've just laid off percent of staff. But then there's also a challenge of the staff they do have and the teams, they really want to nurture them. So it's this fine line of, we want to give you a good experience, but it's not the bells and whistles.
Yeah. What about, do you do industry events? Because
Yeah.
there's a huge increase in, particularly in the startup scale-up world, there are so many events now. Like before COVID, there was maybe 1 or 2. There's probably 9 or 10 now in a year, which is nearly 1 a month.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Definitely. And our event, so one of our sort of pinnacle industry events, AIM, which happens in Melbourne every year, this is the largest event, and don't quote me on this, I think in the past 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Thereabouts. Largest attendance in terms of global reps from the US,
Yeah.
which they sort of weren't getting before. And when we went this year, it really felt back to that. This is actually a global event where people are coming to look to hold events in Australia. And that was
cool.
really cool.
Yeah, I never thought about that, the
Yeah.
international side of it.
Yeah.
I mean, South by Southwest obviously came.
Exactly.
That was an event and a half.
Yeah.
I can't believe they've signed a 7-year deal on that.
I know.
That's wild.
When I saw that, I was like, well, that's a big call.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So tell me, what has changed in the business? I mean, obviously you mentioned the new tech earlier, but there's been a lot of other things. So, 3 years in the length of your business entirety is quite a long time.
Yeah.
You're still the same headcount, you said? But you're doing a
No,
lot
we've
more.
grown,
You've
which
grown?
is cool. So when we last met, we were circa 6.
Yep.
We have just ticked over to 24.
Oh, wow. You have grown.
We have
That's
grown.
a lot.
Yeah, which is good. And that's where, and I think what speaks to this is when we launched in the Australian market, people very quickly looked at us and was like, oh, another startup, and not all negative, but there was some cynicism about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Is this just another one trying to have a go?
Another event business.
Yeah, and what was quite cool is as soon as people met with us, like, whoa, your tech's really sophisticated, your model's sophisticated. So whilst we were a startup, we had a very mature product to offer and a service that we knew worked because of our legacy in the UK. So we've grown, which is awesome. We've partnered with brilliant companies, enterprise level companies, which has then supported our growth.
Yep.
Amazing clients who day in, day out, and I say this genuinely, we love working with them. And that's been a game changer for us. They've really understood that this is a female owned business. We're a small business. They want to work with us. And then the other big component that's changed is the tech. We are really aggressive with what we do with it. And
That's
I think
good. No one's ever said they're aggressive with their tech before. I like that.
I know we are. It's and sometimes you're like, whoa, I can't keep up, but that's a good problem to have. So over the past years, and I guess just to map out some things that we've really focused on is on the business side, we want to be able to support companies to get more visibility. So when a company says, we need to cost cut or we need to get an understanding of spend under management, we've made our platform more real time, more user friendly. And it's simple, but one of the feedback points that a client said to me recently, she was like, your tech's just beautiful.
Oh, that's a nice,
and
that's a great
It's
term.
great, isn't it? Not, I get all this data because we know that. We know you can get the data. But if you think about any other tech platform that you use, be it Airbnb or something like that, it's a nice user experience.
It is, and it makes a massive difference. I've started using a platform called Upwork a lot because I really like the way it
Upwork's
works.
awesome.
It's just so simple, and I like that about it.
Yeah, and we're there to save time. If our tech doesn't save you time, when we've failed immediately.
Events can be very stressful too.
Yeah.
Particularly when you've got short lead times.
Yeah.
So if you're, obviously I understand from a perspective of a client using your technology and having that sort of ability to everyone sort of measure everything and see all the data. What about if you're a venue owner?
That part's really cool too. So we basically, for a venue, free to list on our platform. We want to give you that exposure. But then we have multiple different products. And I always use the term with the team, we'll never be a used car salesperson. Not man, not woman, just person. We very much focus on what is the right solution for you.
Yep.
So we've got 5 different products that we offer venues, be it 3D modelling, which even post-COVID, so you think of venue tours, but this modelling is really sophisticated. Post-COVID, yes, people want to get back to site visits, but look at Australia geographically. It's not as efficient to jump on a plane, or to your point earlier, you don't necessarily want to jump on a plane.
Yeah.
So we're supporting both venues to get their venue out there easily, but also either attract international bookers or domestic bookers and go, I can easily understand that venue that's in Melbourne and I'm based in Brisbane. But then we've also gone one step further with our tech, and this spans across the business and venue side, is the sustainability parts. And this is probably, I wouldn't say the part that most excites me, but I love what it's doing because us as a company is carbon neutral and we're moving towards being climate positive this year.
How do you measure that? We'll come back to that in a minute.
We'll come back to that.
Sorry, brains racing.
So with the tech that we've built, we firstly want all these venues that we work with do amazing initiatives.
Yep.
But often those initiatives are buried way down in their events pack and you've got to dig it out and then talk to the client about it. Whereas what we've built into our tech is the ability for, in a proposal, the venue to go, here's the cost, here's the facilities. So yes, we know we need air conditioning, disability access, etc. But then also here's all of our sustainability measures. So when a client is looking at options per options, they can very quickly make an informed decision and go, wow, that company is a B Corp company, it's female owned, it's single use, no single use plastic, etc., etc. The next iteration that we did on our sustainability was actually measure the journey from, say, your offices to that particular venue. And then the tech will tell you what is the most sustainable venue based on the guest's journey getting there. So if you're considering a venue in the CBD and then you're also comparing it to a venue that's 25 kilometres out, the venue in the CBD is going to win because it's potentially closer to public transport networks compared to others. So that's the second iteration. And then in May, and here's a bit of a sneak peek, which we're excited about.
We love sneak peeks.
We are just about to launch. I actually don't think most of my team know this, but there you go, team.
I'm not sure how long before this comes out, but you never know.
There you go. Within the tech, when you put in all of your event requirements, so let's say the Nudge Group are hoping they're hosting their very lavish end-of-year Christmas party and it's going to be on a boat and it's all bells and whistles. You would put that into the tech and based on sustainability standards that we've then built in, it would tell you the average carbon offset.
Okay.
So then very quickly you can go, yes, we want to offset this. You can make informed decisions about the right venue to choose. Yep. So it's just making it easier.
Yeah. It's just having everything to hand, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I haven't been on your site for a little while. I've been on there maybe last year. And so all the listings are there, right? And you pop open them, they expand open, and everything's just there for you.
That's all there. Simple. And then we've got, for business clients, we then offer a tailored service. So they get access to our event planners, they get to know them. I was going to ask you about that, Yeah, so from that perspective, then we know exactly the style events that particular client likes. And they really act as an expert for that particular booker. A booker being a person within the company who's planning events. And our event planner can sit there and say, these are the venues that fit the brief, but also from a sustainability perspective, this venue is doing these. And a great example of that, we work with a brilliant yacht in Sydney. They're perceived as big, bougie. Are they necessarily doing the right things, sustainability? And actually they are. They're doing fantastic things.
All of that. And you can promote that to your staff as well. Yeah, I think a lot of staff will judge a business on how they do their events and whether they are looking at that now. It's become such a massive thing.
Yeah,
I love that. And so I am not great at picking venues, and I really don't know because I'm not an event person. I can ring up and have a conversation with it, and they can advise me and go through all the.
Absolutely.
I think that's important because I think, like you said, there's so many people running events who just don't have a clue.
Yeah, and we work with a lot of internal events teams as well who are professionals. So we plug into them as an extension of their team, but then we can also then be those experts for people who come to us. And we had this beautiful client last year who just rang us and was completely vulnerable and was like, I just need help. I have no clue what I'm doing. And those two we love because it's we can really get under the skin of the brief and find an amazing experience for them.
That's fantastic. So, and where to from here? What are you going to do next? Like you're doing a lot of innovation.
Yeah, the innovation won't stop. We probably do a tech release, be it big or small, every 2 weeks.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's when I use the word aggressive.
That is very aggressive. It's the right word.
Yeah. It feels like that at times, but that I love because it shows, and all of our tech is built off customer feedback, and that goes back to my background. When I was client side, I would get invited in for interviews with the tech team, and they would ask the most strange and obscure questions because they weren't trying to solutionize for me. They were trying to hear my problems. Yeah. And then off the back of that, they've built tech that helps it. So we'll continue to hear what challenges the venues are facing, but also what challenges business clients are facing. Yep. We'll continue to evolve the tech. Over the next year, sustainability will be a big focus with our tech. How do we support companies that do have these equally as aggressive goals? Get our tech supporting that, but also our people. And then from a geographical perspective, we're really excited about the footprint we're putting across Australia. And then for us, the next sort of 12 to 18 months is to continue to grow our sort of enterprise level client base, because it's like any business. When you bring on sort of a breadwinning client, that fundamentally changes what we're doing.
Completely, yeah. I mean, 24 people, that's massive growth as well. Gosh, I'm really impressed with how, I mean, you wouldn't have thought that, right? Event business growing at that point, because there are a lot of event businesses, but there's obviously a lot of differences in mainly your tech.
Yeah.
Every 2 weeks. So I come back, I'm intrigued to know, you're carbon neutral. How are you measuring that? How do you do that? I think a lot of people, I've been asked this question by a lot of clients, and I'll be honest, I don't have the answer. So I'm hoping you're going to now give me that answer, then I can then clap that little clip and I'm just going to email you over to them.
Please do. The short answer is neither do I, because I was blissfully aware that of where my knowledge gaps are. And sustainability is something that I love, but I'm not an expert in it. So we actually got partnered with we chose to partner with a company called Trace. So our -trace.org, there's a great plug for them because they're phenomenal. But I've
seen the t-shirts actually. They must be around here somewhere.
They're based in Surrey Hills, I'm pretty sure. So we went to them and said, look, we want to do the right thing, but we also want to educate our team more so that we can educate clients. So we partnered with them. They basically do an annual assessment, I think mid-year that they do it for us. That measures how we operate, what are the offices that we operate in look like, how do we get around the city. They really go into quite a lot of detail about what that looks like. It's by no means a light touch analysis.
No, I don't imagine it is.
They then give us a report off the back of that, and then we choose to pay to offset it. They then have projects in Indonesia, they've got one in South Australia, all over the world, that then says your money's gone towards this particular project.
Okay. So you pay Trace to offset it.
Exactly, and then what we're looking at this year is we'll continue to pay and put towards those projects so that we can then move into a climate positive position.
That's great.
Yeah,
good.
It's really cool.
Have you found, has that impacted? Do clients ask you about, I mean, obviously they're looking at the sustainability of their own events, but do they actually ask you about that? Do you find it a selling point?
Definitely, because one of the things is when we're onboarding with a client or when we're potentially about to win a new client and we've got to go through what is quite an arduous supplier review process. Things that they're really impressed that we do is that we are carbon neutral. They're very impressed. I'm a female-owned business. We have 100% female management team. We have a 50-50 male-female board. And then the makeup of the business is 72% female.
You're ticking the boxes all around,
we've got
aren't
it
you?
pretty good. I set myself a challenge, and I'm always conscious to hire the right person, not a gender.
Yes.
And for the past 3 years, it's just so happened that we've gone more heavy weighted towards females. But we did recruit 4 guys at the beginning of this year, so we got our male quota up.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say we've got to get our male quota up.
I know, but it's good, and I genuinely do believe diversity is brilliant. I was doing a supplier onboarding last year, and in it they asked how many nationalities in your team do you have?
Good question.
And I was like, great. So when I went through it at the time, we had 21 in the team.
21? Out of 24?
Yeah, so we've now.
I thought you meant 21 varieties. I was like, oh my God.
No, but the number will surprise you. Out of that 21, we had 15 different nationalities.
That's incredible.
And it really blew my mind, from Vietnamese, Canadian, a lot of British, but ironically not because we are a British founded company.
There's a lot of British here.
There's a lot of British
Sydney.
here.
I'm British. We're everywhere.
Kiwi. So it's awesome. And you look at that and you think that, as well as gender diversity, absolutely folds into us being quite a unique and interesting agency.
Yeah, it's interesting. And what is the sort of age are you? Because events is often quite a young person's game because of the nature of it, right? It's difficult to do events when you've got young families and other things like that. Are you quite a young team? I would evenly spread.
I would say so. Average age is probably 28.
Okay, so that's pretty young.
Fairly young. Myself and my COO are same age, sort of mid-30s. So I think I'd call us a pretty young company. Comes with its benefits, comes with its challenges.
Well, we touched on this when we were walking from the office to the studio, right? The working culture and how it differs. So you've kind of got 2 generations sort of sitting in there, and we were talking. There is a difference, right? And I think there are definitely exceptions to that. But I think it's also important that we recognise there should be a difference because generations are different. They're always going to be different. We were different from the generations before us, and I think a lot of people try to enforce their beliefs on other people, and it doesn't work.
No,
you have to work out how to get the best out of someone who is going to work in that way because that's just how they are.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Because it can be very frustrating. And I've struggled with it. I'm much better at it now because my last business had a lot of younger people.
Yep.
So I had to get better at it, but I did struggle at the beginning.
Yeah. The benefits, I love the energy we have in our team.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that necessarily comes from a younger team, because you can have amazing energy in anybody. But one thing that I've had to remember is Headbox is my business. It's not everybody's business.
No.
And so therefore my expectations shouldn't be of how I choose to work and show up. And if I choose to work late night or weekends, that is my choice. That is not my expectation of the team. But one thing that my COO and I have worked really closely on is that we are a performance-driven team. So no matter what role you're in, you have KPIs, you have metrics, and you have that ability to contribute and feel really proud for the contribution you're making. But then how we've designed the team and the company is, let's remember we've all got personal lives.
Yes.
Like, let's remember that one of the guys loves surfing. So he actually flexes hours some mornings.
Yep.
And he'll go surfing, he'll surf a bit later, and then he'll come in and he'll make up those hours.
Yep.
So I think that's really important. We do a lot of work from home and in the office. So I don't want to go back to going, we're a traditional agency, because we're certainly not.
You're definitely not.
And I want to continually, and we do annual pulse surveys, we do sort of culture feedback sessions to go, guys, tell me what you want.
Yeah.
Because if I don't know, I genuinely can't do anything about it.
I think it's a really good approach. I think that if people are allowed to live their lives, as long as they do make up the hours, and obviously if they don't, well, then that's a completely different conversation, people feel freer. They feel a sense of freedom in their life, and I think that makes them work better.
And I think you get more trust out of it.
Much more.
Because if somebody can go, yeah, I did actually just want to go surfing, it's not a doctor's appointment. Or
no, they're not lying to you. There's no need to lie to you.
No, I'm like, good on you. Enjoy the waves.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. It's really interesting because I've noticed it. There's this huge push for people to come back 5 days in the office in a lot of our clients.
Yeah.
Which is, to use one of your words, very aggressive. And it's very hard to recruit for people who want 5 days in the office. What we are finding is the younger generation are the ones that actually want to come back in 5 days. And I think they've realised that they're not learning through osmosis, right? They're still hanging out with their school friends because they haven't met anyone new because they're at home. And they're not learning just by being around. And I think that's the sense. And I think a blended approach is personally best. But we are seeing, like, the last two clients I saw, the one I saw just before you today and the one I spent with yesterday, they're both 5 days in the office, don't like it, don't work here.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. That's going back to before.
It's a pretty old school.
It's very old school.
Yeah.
And I understand you want some time together. I like that collaboration that happens. I mean, there's companies like Atlassian who don't do that, and they're doing very well, I think you could arguably say. So I think there's different horses for courses on the roles.
And I think if I think back to when I was an employee in a company, and I did love that FaceTime with the CEO or my senior manager. And so company, that is important. And I think, going for Thursday drinks or something or an activity, it doesn't need to be around drinking, but that is important. But then also let that person work from home on a Friday.
Yeah, well, it is Thursday drinks now because it is much quieter on Fridays.
Exactly.
No one comes in on Fridays.
Exactly, yeah.
I live near Bondi, and when I leave on a Friday morning, it's as busy as it is Saturday. It's pumping. The beach is pumping.
Yeah.
I'm like, no one goes to work on Friday anymore.
No.
Like, no one, apart from me.
Yeah.
And that's because I want to get out.
Wrong?
I like to come in, although I'm actually starting to work a few more Fridays at home now. But I like the environment. I like working at home in the evening. I don't like working at home in the day. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Isn't
that strange? Like, I don't want to stay late in the office, but I'll go home and work.
That. Yeah, I get that. It's a bit more comfortable. Yeah. And I think that the thing is too with the team is even when we have set office days so that when everyone does come in, they're in together, because there is no point in somebody coming in and working by themselves in the office. No. But then on those days, like, we work from home on a Monday, and the team absolutely love that because we all know Mondays are a bit more of a slog.
I love Mondays. It's my favourite day. I know people think that's weird.
To the rule.
I get so excited by Mondays. I always feel this massive sense of hope on a Monday.
That's good though.
I've always been like that.
I'm
going
to try that. Let me know what it is that I can adopt for my Monday.
I'll have a think.
I don't dread Mondays because I too get excited of, like, what meetings have we got on this week? What are we going to want to tackle? But I probably need to step up to your level.
I think I know why. I'm very time poor. I take on too many things. It's one of my biggest problems. And so Monday, I feel like I've got so much time because it's Monday. So I'm like, I've got so much time. I feel great. I can get all this done. And that's where my hope and expectation comes from. I don't know.
That's awesome.
So one last question, because I have no doubt you're going to continue to grow.
We are.
If someone wants to come and work with you, tell me, why would they want to come work at Headbox? In your words, what's the best thing about working there?
Many. I am passionate about our culture, but what I'm very clear about our culture is it's not just driven by me. It is lived and driven by everybody.
Yep.
Everybody contributes to it, but our culture isn't just about when we go to the pub on a Thursday night or the fun we have in the office. And yes, we are a dog-heavy, friendly office, but it's also around how we all show up for one another. So I've put a pretty cool incentive carrot on the table for the team that if we achieve our mid-year targets by June, we're going on a company incentive in August. It's a complete surprise where we're going, so I'm not telling you.
I'm going to tell you when the camera's off.
Yeah. But that has actually been amazing because whenever anybody in the team has a small win, they all know that it's contributing to this larger team goal.
This mystery tour.
Yeah. So, and it is a mystery, but I've said it's within Australia. So I've ruled out Europe.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Have you actually decided yet, or is it a mystery because you haven't worked it out?
No,
Okay.
no, I know.
Because I've done that before. I've told people it's a surprise because I've got no idea what I was going to do. Okay, so it's all there, ready to go.
It's all there. I am a very strong integral person, so my word is my word. And if they achieve the target, then off we go.
Are they on target?
They are.
Well, so
I'm confident.
There's a reason to work for you.
I'm confident we're steaming ahead. So it's the culture. I also think the growth that we're going to experience over the next 3 years is incredibly exciting. And there's some things that we're working on that I genuinely won't share because my board will probably kill me, but that in itself is exciting.
Yeah.
So our growth, our culture, and every single person in the team, I love spending time with.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's an awesome line.
They're
fantastic.
A very cool team.
Well, it's been so good to have you here.
Yeah, it's been really nice.
I'm really enjoying. We're starting to invite a few more previous guests back on. It's really nice to see where people have gone in those sort of that 2-3 year gap. So you're, I think, the second person we've had back on it twice. So yeah, I enjoy these chats.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Thank you for having me back.
Pleasure.
Awesome.
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week.